everyone, and welcome to the second part of our snazzy suit edition of Mental Health Matters with your host, Dr. Matt Gloviak, and special guest, Trustee Mike Carpenzano.
Yes.
How you doing?
Fantastic.
Actually, I know it's only been a few minutes since our last episode, so we're all good and ready to go. Like we were talking about, you have a very active lifestyle. We were talking a lot about, all the different events that you go to in the community, all the communication that you're doing, keeping everything together. You've got a family at home. You've got your day job. How do you do it all?
I don't. No.
You don't?
It is.
You
Let
have
me
me
tell
fooled.
you. It is again work. You talk about this work that goes into this, but we take it in stride. So it has been an experience to be so community focused. Doesn't always come natural. It takes working to make our Friday night a nonprofit gala date night is a tough sell to the wife. I mean, how do you sell that saying, oh yeah, we're going to have a great date night on Friday and also it's going to cost us $500. That's not the most exciting date night in the world. So it's taken years of work towards that, but it is definitely something that we've built. So our family life, I have a young guy, he's almost 3 years old now, and right from the get-go, we started throwing him into events and fundraisers and concerts on the hill. So we just kind of made that a part of life, so it didn't seem like it was forced. It just kind of seemed natural. And that's been a real big portion of how we've sort of made it seem easy, but it's not always easy.
Okay, so for you and especially your wife, it's been a little bit of an adjustment over the years, kind of growing on you type of thing. With a child, here it is. Introduced early, it seems like a normal part of life and a lot of fun things. I mean, I know one of the things that I really enjoy going to different events is meeting new people, learning new things, trying new foods, and sometimes it can be a pretty great experience, but sometimes when the wife does want a little personal one-on-one and there's all these other people there taking pictures, asking questions, and constantly interrupting, it can be a little bit difficult.
It does. It gets unique. Thankfully, it also gives me a buffer in case I can't remember someone's name. My wife's always there to be like, "Hi, I'm Nadia," and it kind of gives me an introduction. But I will say that it's been incredibly important throughout us being sort of active, active lifestyle. I should say active in the way of social events. I wouldn't say that we're ultra marathoners, although we have dabbled in awkward things. But taking time away to also be alone has really been the key to that success. So every so often, while I try to be engaged, and a lot of us in this community try to be overly accessible, every so often just to sort of break away, even if it's just for a day, and take the family somewhere and try to leave the phone off, or at least leave it off for a few hours, has been a goal of mine. So I never go, although the pandemic was unique, I never go more than a month or two without kind of taking a very small getaway, nothing extravagant, just drive an hour, visit a state park, and try to leave the phone off for a little bit, because that has been a great way to sort of reset and remember that we're not just machines going to events, that we're just people and having a relationship, and that's been important.
No, absolutely. So setting some boundaries, and it sounds like, kind of on a weekly basis, you make sure to take some time, and like you said, once a month, every other month, go out and do a little bit of a bigger activity, whether it's going to a state park or something else like that.
We try. I will tell you that she reminds me when I don't. So if we get too wrapped up in things, she does do a good job. But I think and this is not unique just to me and my life. I look at folks that are sort of out there a lot. Local community leaders, again, our faith leaders in town. They have to find creative ways to sort of break away from them as a pastor, them as a village trustee, and sort of remember that behind all that, it's just another person. Because sometimes, not that we're ever playing a role, but you sort of, as people come up to you, they need something. I need this, my tree's dying, there's a crack in the sidewalk, whatever it is, you sort of forget that there's a life behind this. And of course, it's an important part of what we do, and I love serving in that capacity. But most people realize that every so often I'll deviate back and introduce the family and make sure that I say, hey, I'm here and I'm happy to handle that. Here's my business card. And I'm trying to have dinner with my family. So give me 1 second.
Well, and that's really an important point, like you said. So we have, Michael, the trustee. We have Michael, the human being. Michael, the father. Michael, the husband. And it's always funny. I ask people this question all the time. I'm like, so who are you? Tell me about yourself. 9 times out of 10, people start off with their career,
Sure.
where their job is. Oh, well, I'm a clinician. Oh, I'm a trustee. We don't start off with, oh, well, I'm a father. Oh, I'm a husband. I'm somebody's son. Or personality traits.
Yeah.
I'm kind. I'm loving. I'm compassionate. We start off with the job, and we put so much meaning behind what our work is that we literally feel like without our work that we're almost nothing. And we can really get out of touch with who we are as human beings. And it's ever so important that we do, go ahead and reconnect with that, be able to let loose, be able to have some fun. Now, I know self-care looks a lot different for other people. Some people might find self-care going, well, can't right now with COVID-19, but going to Guaranteed Rate Field, the cell, whereas some people would find it a nightmare. I want to go to Wrigley. That's mine. Some people want to go to a rap concert, while others want to go to country. So self-care isn't the same for everybody, but it's going to be something that's very unique to you and something we should do. And it's ever so important that we don't forget who we are as people, because you could be burning the candle at both ends and be a very active individual. Some of us have more endurance than others do.
Sure.
But when you start to lose sight of who you are as a human being and all the roles that you play in life, I think that's really when distress starts to kick in.
Well, and it's interesting. So I personally wear a few hats, but each hat sort of has a different community around it. So I'm able to, so my day job, for example,
Mhm.
working at the hospital, for example, I get to sort of be around that environment and that sort of group of coworkers and associates. And then for me, it's a different change of pace than if I come over here to Village Hall. It's a separate community and usually not much interaction between the two. So I sort of have a way to almost mentally change the day for myself. But I have to remember at the end of the day that while I've absorbed myself in one community and then I left and from 5 to 8 I was in another community, I still have not taken time back for that other community, which is the home life.
Mhm.
And I feel like I had a great day. And oh my God, I accomplished this, and this group was great, and then I accomplished this, and that group was great. And then I get home at 9:30, and the kid's barely trying to finish up his bath time and get to bed. And I'm like, oh, and here's the important part. So oftentimes have to remind myself that there's more to the just feeling fulfilled for the day of having accomplishments to the day. But what interaction did you have? What did you actually make an impact on someone's life? And of course, that being your family. And did you impact your family in some way? And they're very supportive. But it's important to remember that as I go through the process, you get and I work off of an Outlook calendar. And if it's not on the calendar, it doesn't exist. And I get so stuck with that I have found, this is terrible, I have found myself scheduling like a block. So if I have 3 hours, I'm like, go home and take a walk around the block with the kid. And I will put that in the calendar, and my associate, sometimes we have shared calendars, and they'll see that and be like, well, don't you have to go home and walk the kid? I said, well, yes, I do.
Uh-huh.
That is actually on my calendar.
No, well,
Um,
absolutely. And like sometimes we do have to make sure to take the time to schedule that in. I'm sitting here I'm sitting here laughing because
you
I
can't.
was always a
I laugh at
person.
myself.
Yes, I used to pride myself. I'm like, oh, I don't need a calendar or schedule. I just remember when everything is, until I started forgetting, a good 5, 6, 7 years ago, and had so much in the schedule. Even those simple things, have breakfast with your family, dinner, go to the doctor's appointment and things like this. We're so quick to be able to schedule all of these work things, but what about the family? And it's so important that we do, go ahead and take that time, even if it is something as simple as taking a walk around the block, going to the park, reading a couple stories, and so on. That really goes a long way, because really in the end, who are the people who look up to us the most, love and idolize us? Our children, our spouses, other family members, and so on. You know, kind of I like that concept how you're talking about a little bit of compartmentalizing things. So you kind of see your day in chunks. You've got your 9 to noon, your noon to 3, your 3 to 6, the 6 to 9, and then 9 to the rest of the evening to the next day. How do you think that really helps you get through a long day?
Wow. So I guess the first question is, does it help me? And
Well, you already said it
yes,
did help.
it does. So because some people think of it kind of crazy, that can't be productive. Like you can't look at your life that structured.
Hmm.
For me, it works. And I'm sure other people do. I mean, I
Works
know
for me.
people
It's
that
a big thing that works
use
for me.
no calendar in life, and they just kind of are that good. I just don't happen to be that person. I also know people who use the paper calendar, and then that gets out of date real quick. But I have found that sort of segmenting really helps also to make sure that I try to make sure that there's equal time spent between different blocks. One is a necessity. I mean, the work is work. You gotta earn a living to be able to put food on the table. So I understand the importance of that, and anyone for the most part can relate to that. But it's when the other things, so the extracurricular sort of adult activities come in the way. So when it's the, stop by the nonprofit for a board meeting, or come to a village board meeting, or do this kind of stuff. It's all great in the scheme of things, and they're such great life experiences. But I have to make sure when I look at the calendar as a whole, then that during the week that we've made time. So that's fine. Tonight we give up. I do a great show. This is fantastic. I get to sit with my friends at BCT and have a great talk show. However, maybe tomorrow night that's a no-go then. So I will not schedule anything for that night. It helps me see especially when I place it out, that okay, I did this 3 nights in a row. Night number 4, it's going to be a hard no. And I do struggle with saying no.
Yeah, it could be a hard thing. Well, and I love the whole thing. I know I've said it on the show many times. One of my favorite quotes is, remember that every single time you say yes to one thing, you're saying no to something else. And that's usually saying no to your wife, your son, yourself, and engaging in all that self-care. But the one thing that really did work with me after I started using the calendar, because I can't remember anything anymore either, was just a really big, change of pace and being able to chunk my day, whatever that looks like. I was going through graduate school. I had a corporate job. I was there for 10 years, 10-hour-a-day job, Monday through Friday. Sometimes you had an after-hours phone that rang all night and weekends. You couldn't get away from it. And I was sitting at a desk, two computer screens, 2 phones like this, typing and responding, like that. And it was just really stressful because there was no change of environment whatsoever. I was working through my lunch breaks and things like that. And then what I ended up finding while I was there at that job, even though I couldn't move around much because it was, an office job, I found that, okay, well, if I take a 15-minute break every 2 hours, if I actually take my hour lunch, go to lunch with some of my colleagues sometimes, go work out in the gym that was there, that really broke the day apart. And I can come home, do a little workout, do my studies and so on, and that worked. One of the things I love about my career now is that every day is a little bit different. I'll teach for a few hours, counsel for a few hours, come here, do this, write for a few hours. And having that diversity, it's almost like a type of thing where it's like my day starts, stops, resets, starts, stops, resets. And in doing that, I feel like I get this new burst of energy with every single thing I do. Picking up that you get some of that as well?
Yeah, so and that kind of goes by the different community that you're there to say hello to. So I kind of I start off my day at 8 in the morning or 8:30 in the morning, and it's hello and coffees and everyone's getting set for the day. And then even if my next step is 5 o'clock when I get to sort of the next thing, it's a whole new group of people. So I live for the fact of again interaction. So now I got to start my hellos and my smiles and the whole thing. And it's not even that's not even that you have to do it. It's just if you're a part of a social group of whatever part that is, you're able to, I think, hopefully feed off of just different people's vibes. I don't know what the clinical term for that is, but you just sort of assimilate into whatever's happening in that room, and you sort of, I live for that. Maybe not everyone does. Some people actually shy away from that kind of stuff. But I live for the fact of making an impact on someone else's day. So I look forward to that, and it actually helps me get through that first segment knowing that there's another segment, whether that's a second work or a nonprofit activity or just going home. And now I get to redo that, and the kid sees me for the first time in the day, and I thrive on that too. So no matter what that next thing is, I think it gives us a neat way to say there is a next thing and kind of keeps you going so you don't get sluggish and
No,
lazy.
absolutely. And having it in chunks. I mean, isn't it a lot easier to look at your day and say, okay, well, I've got 3 4-hour chunks or 4 3-hour chunks, and wow, this is a 12-hour day. It's going to be it's going to be a long one. But another thing that you've mentioned since the very beginning of this episode that I think is really important too is, I don't have to, I want to. Having passion for what you're doing. I like seeing these people and putting the smile on and being able to adjust and assimilate to the situation. All very important things to do. And when you're passionate about what you do, I know there's that saying, if you love what you do, you don't work a day in your life. I'm not going to go 100% on that. I'll say that it definitely minimizes the stress, and it's a lot easier to shake the cobwebs off when you're having a really bad day, so to speak, in that. But when you have a passion for what you're doing, it makes it way easier to get rid of the stress, and it makes the day go by a lot faster than doing things you don't enjoy.
And if you find that you're doing tasks that do not fit in that, find a way to shed them. And sometimes it's hard, especially if it's something like your job.
Hmm.
But if of course don't do it rapidly. I wouldn't suggest going in tomorrow and turning in your 2 weeks notice. But starting to set a plan for, okay, I hate doing this for some reason, whether it's personality, whether it's task oriented. Something is not jiving with me, so find a way to change it. If it's you have to do it, then find something next to that next block that's going to help balance you out for the day. So maybe, yes, I didn't overly love going on a run around the block with my wife. I don't look forward to these jogs. Obviously, they're not paying off, but in any case, I don't look forward
That
to
was to
something.
her.
But my next thing may be exciting, and for me, it could be going to I don't know what the next thing is, but whatever that next thing is, I say, well, I'm going to enjoy that, so I'll kind of get through this to get to the next thing. So
Hmm.
that's the way that I sort of do things that I have to do that may not be the favorite things in life, but I do also find ways of shedding those things. And I write them down and I say, I know that I had to do this, but how can I not do this next time? Or how can I
Hmm.
not do this next year? And trying to find a way to shed those.
That's an important thought, especially when we do have the things that we don't want to do. And that's usually when I really try to stack a special treat on top of it. It's like, oh, wow, well, this week I'm going to have to, deal with XYZ issue. I know it's going to be really complicated and difficult. So this weekend I'll go ahead and I'll plan a family fun event,
Yep.
go take the kids to Santa's Village, go to a nice dinner, a ball game, concert, something like that. Even if money's tight, okay, yes, let's go to Starve Rock for the night, something along those lines, ever so important. We have another great point here as well. We talk about workplace stress, and most of us, unfortunately, we have to work to live, to pay the
Yep.
bills, and all that. So there's not necessarily any getting around that. And I know, depending on where you're at in terms of how many years you've been employed, what type of skill you have, your education, you may have more or less options available to you. However, as I'm saying more or less options available to you, the key word is options, and there still are options available.
Yes.
So if you're an individual who feels as though you're in some terrible type of situation, you hate your job every single day, you don't want to go, okay, don't give your 2 weeks notice yet, but come up with a thoughtful plan. What can you do? Is there a job that's kind of like yours in a better work environment? Work your day job, start applying to those jobs, do some interviews after work. You may or may not get hired. Hopefully you do. Maybe you want to do a completely different career and you need to have some type of particular skill set. Maybe it's something, you can get an associate's degree or some type of
Sure.
certificate. You can go online. I see people get, certificates in as little as 2 to 6 weeks, that have been life changing for them. But the important thing, again, is to be proactive. If you don't like something, do something about it, which is so important.
And find those. It's really helped me, but find those. And I hate to call them coaches because no one wants to feel like they need to be coached, especially as an adult. Like, no, I'm going to do the coaching. But ultimately, just find like sort of that partner that's going to be able to bounce things off of. And I always try to aim for a coach or a mentor that's outside of my everyday circle. So maybe you'd be a great mentor because you're not in my everyday
There
circle.
you go.
But it's just a neat way to, one, it's a neat way to catch up with people and just
Hmm.
saying hey, and then two, to say, I have something going on in my life. Can I bounce something off you? Because if you share those ideas with either your spouse who you're always complaining to, or your coworker at the job that you're sort of always with too, you're going to get sort of, they already know you.
Hmm.
But if you give someone sort of a more broad picture of your life and then ask them for an opinion, you might hear just sort of a varying. So I always try to bounce ideas off of folks that maybe don't know me as well, because I want to hear a slightly different opinion than what I know someone else is probably going to end up giving me because they know what my life is like.
No,
So
exactly. So it's something a lot more objective. You don't have to worry about, the person saying something to somebody else or giving you an answer, that's sunshine and rainbows, telling you what
correct.
you want to hear. My favorite, I love mentoring other people. It's actually one of my favorite things to do. But also I love when I have mentors who I can look up to, and the ones who I always like the best are going to be the ones who put me in my place. They're like,
Sure.
oh, well, you thought you had a great episode? It was bad. You could
It's
have done better.
terrible.
Why didn't you pay more attention? But that's really the thing I like. Whereas when I have the people and it's good and great, I feel good. Clients, students, people in the community. Oh yeah, Matt, you're doing a really great job. Thank you for all you're doing. It's just wonderful. Is there anything I could be doing better? No, keep doing what you're doing. But then I go to my mentor who's like holding me to this different standard.
Sure.
Well, I mean, you're helping people, but you can really kick it up a notch and that. And that goes a long way. And I do believe that all of us, can benefit from a coach, a mentor, at the very least, be having close ties with relatives and that, whether it's your parent or grandparent. But there's something very powerful about having that mentor figure who's not necessarily your colleague, your buddy, like you said, you're complaining to every single day about things.
And how do I say this? I often get accused of being too much of a positive person. I obviously that could be a fault, but I just choose to I choose to wake up in the morning and look at that glass half full. That's just been my motto. I'm not saying it's right. It's just the way that I am. But try to surround yourself with people that also are have a forward-looking way of life. I'm not saying that folks that sort of always look at the glass half empty are wrong,
Hmm.
but they can also kind of restrict creativity and sometimes make you feel as if, well, maybe the world's just going to be the way the world's going to be. Instead of me saying, hey, this is what's great about this, and let's explore what's good about it. So I think find a circle or a mentor in life that also is able to sort of look two steps ahead and give you some hope in what can happen and not just say, yeah, it was a terrible episode and I don't think you can get any better and that's it. So I mean, look for someone who can give you some excitement and what to work on and build upon, versus just kind of saying, yeah, this is kind of all you got. This is the episode.
Well, absolutely. I mean, and there's a difference between seeing the glass, half full and being somebody who's completely naive. It's
Sure.
important to have, a critical thinking ability where you can take a look at a situation, be skeptical, if you will, but still see the positive in things. Even with everything going on with COVID-19 right now, there are some silver linings in what is going on, with all this. The way that we're communicating is a lot different. The things we're doing on social media with technology, the things that we talked about in our last episode with what's going on in Bolingbrook. And I feel like as much as ever, we have a really great sense of community despite everything that is going on. So having that positive outlook is really important. In positivity, it's contagious, kind of like a virus. When you're positive, it's hard for other people to be completely negative. So you're positive, the other person, we're both positive right now, and that starts to catch on. Positive people draw other positive
Yes.
people. Confident people draw other confident people. So when you present yourself in the way, that you feel best, you're most comfortable with, and that's being a positive person, well, other people are going to follow suit. And guess what? That takes stress off your day as well, because now they're putting positive vibes into your day.
Very true, and I will add that during those first few weeks of the lockdown, the true stay-at-home order, and everyone was sort of in, I I would talk to my wife about this, but I said it to a few people. Like, I loved the fact it was a terrible time, and people were out of work. I was, I mean, Paige. I mean, there was just a lot. Everyone had some sort of stress going on for one way or another. But I did love the fact that we were all looking out for our neighbors,
Hmm.
and we were having family meals again, and you couldn't do anything else. I just thought that was a really neat time in our history, even given horrendous circumstances, that we found sort of what was important in life, and it was family. And people were having, Zoom birthday calls with relatives that they would have never told or reached out to for the birthday before. But now you're interacting with these people. You were reaching out to old friends by virtual ways and phone and Zoom and all these other ways that we never would have done unless we were sort of stuck at home.
Hmm.
So I really had this silver lining, and then we sort of quickly shifted gears, and there was civil unrest and there was anger, and I said, hold on. Did we not learn what was just important? Let's look inside, look in that heart. Like, we are all better than this if we don't just are distracted by what's negative going on in the world and look back inside. We were just there. Like, I thought we had just solved that, and
Hmm.
the society forgot about it very quickly.
No,
But
and that, unfortunately, that's really the way that society works. And it's like on to the next one every
yeah,
single day. What's the next terrible headline that we've got going on? But the reality is that there is so much good around us, and you can really see it if you have a positive outlook, and that's what you're looking for. And I think that that's an important part of this staying sane with an insane work schedule is just really seeing the positivity in it. Okay, I'm very grateful. I am grateful that I have a busy schedule and that I'm doing what I love. I have a wife who loves me, a family who loves me, and all that type of stuff. I've got my health, and I'm just really living this life that I've wanted to live. And that's an important perspective through it all, and it does give you that additional energy.
it has been incredibly important. So beyond the positive talk, but just being able to have a partner, a spouse, an uncle, a neighbor, it doesn't matter who that is, but being able to have that perspective and share that perspective with others. And then some people, again, I'm motivated by instilling those positive values into others. Other people are more of on the receiving end or on the advice giving. It doesn't matter what that passion is, but just finding that niche in your life to be able to share an experience with and hopefully move forward. So on the staying sane portion, and I'm sure you're much more apt to talk about this, but I have definitely found the ability to also, I'm a sort of a social butterfly.
Hmm.
Again, one of those things that I get accused of that is the worst thing in the world. But I love being around people. So my challenge all the time is, can I truly find a time to sit and read a book by myself?
Hmm.
And that is the hardest thing for me to do, is to sit in a room and be by myself and read a book or look at a magazine. Like, I cannot find. So I challenge myself constantly, even though that I love being optimistic, social, and positive. I try to find myself to sort of center, and that has been the biggest struggle. So for the opposite folks, I would say we always constantly trying to challenge really keeps us sane and have many goals in life to try to attain. I still have not mastered the ability to sit and do nothing. That is not something that I'm very good at.
That can be a hard thing, yes,
It's
especially
terrible.
like you said, being a social butterfly, extroverted type of person. So it did, force us to adapt greatly. And I'm hearing what you're saying, and one of the great things on this end too is I've spent a lot of time texting people I haven't texted in years, sending emails, phone calls to people I haven't spoken with in a long
Sure.
time, but also kind of changing some of the stuff I do. So I'm not able to go and present live and do so much of that. However, so now I'm gonna write a lot more, make different videos and things like that. So making sure that you're adaptable, flexible, if you will, to the things that are going on in the world around you. Having those additional challenges keep life exciting. So like you said, for your sitting down and reading a book, I'm kind of the same. I'm Mr. Audiobook guy in his car, as that's going
Yeah.
on, or I'm grading papers, have the earbud in. But I found it's really hard to listen to an audiobook lecture while you're trying to
Turn
type
it.
and respond to something else. So I still need to work through that as well. But I really love how you added that in there.
Well, it is, and the struggle is real when it comes to sort of finding your the opposite of you, and then trying to see if you can dabble in it. And I do it more for a challenge, although I struggle during the early days of the pandemic when me and my wife were like, I was home at night and the TV was on, and I said, "So what do? Do you like sit down and watch TV together? Like, this is awkward. We haven't been able to do this." But that was, again, a good challenge for us to have,
Mm.
and whatever that opposite is, I think it was neat to sort of challenge.
That was a big boundary in our household. So, my wife and I, we actually went to Humphrey Middle School together, Bolingbrook High School together, became best friends,
No
and just
kidding.
ended up, dating,
Wow.
ended up getting married. I've always been the busy bee. And one of the boundaries she set is when we watch TV, no computer, no phone. You're going to watch the show, and you're not watching document. I'm allowed like about 2 documentaries or so a week. They have to be funny blow-off shows. We find ourselves watching, right now, Big Brother, 90 Day Fiance, all these shows I'd be too embarrassed to say to other people. I'm not telling all of you right now, but that type of thing just really helps a lot.
Wow.
I know we're running a little bit shorter on time, so I wanted to touch on one more point. So another thing I think is really important with staying sane when you have an insane schedule is being real with your emotions. I was kind of commenting with some colleagues recently, and I'm Mr. Happy-Go-Lucky, kind of you are all positive and stuff. But lately I found maybe once a week, every other week or so, I just have like really down days. And I was saying like, I'm feeling a little bit imbalanced lately, and it was really kind of a bizarre, uncomfortable, unnatural feeling for me. And at first, I kept trying to fight it off, and then I just started to embrace it. One of the things that's really important as well for mental wellness, and that is being real with your feelings, experiencing them fully, reflecting on them, and just really letting it go. Okay, I'm not feeling well today. I'm kind of down in the dumps. I'm just going to embrace it. I'm going to listen to sad music, watch a depressing show, kind of mope around a little bit, talk to somebody about, how stressful this was or whatever. and then sleep it off, next day get to it, and it's usually a positive one again. Do you ever find yourself having days like that?
Yeah. So again, lately has been interesting because the world is such a unique place. But oftentimes throughout the day, I'm in sales and account management, so I typically hear service, negative issues,
Mm-hmm.
and I get resident issues on the village side, and they're typically not the best things. It's the car that's speeding, or my kid almost got hit. There's always something that someone has going on in their life that I happen to be on the receiving end of. Maybe not because of me, but I happen to be hearing it. So realizing that all that was sort of building up, and one day, honestly, my wife said, "What's wrong with you?" And I said, "I don't know. It's just it seems like the world's terrible. Like everyone's falling apart. Everyone hates
Mm-hmm.
each other." And it was important for her to hear me because I never really say that. I get to hear it a lot, but just sort of being able to, like you said, hear that this is happening on, and being able to tell my wife that, yeah, I am irritated by this. It is bothering me, and let it out a little bit. Now, maybe sometimes I sort of let things build, and then anger gets the best of me.
Happens to
However,
us all.
in this case, it was just say that it's okay to say this isn't great stuff that you're hearing. It's okay to be honest and vulnerable and say, yeah, this isn't great, and I don't love hearing it, but I'm glad that someone, like, I sort of try to justify it, like, well, at least I'm hearing it. I'm sure that I'll be able to turn this around and try to help everyone. But every so often, you just got to be realistic, saying, hey, the world cannot all be fixed,
Mm-hmm.
but each little individual interaction I try to make the best of. But yes, being vulnerable and being able to hear the fact that you're struggling with something is so important, and it's not easy to do at all.
No, it really is. And you just think about it too. I mean, literally, our minds could be like a pressure cooker.
Yeah.
So the more we bottle in, it gets bigger, 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 bigger until we just completely explode. The final straw that broke the camel's back, if you will. So if we do talk about these things as we go along, or journal about them, or just do some activity to try to take an aside with it, being real with ourselves, sitting in it, realizing that life has its ups and downs, it's part of it. Got to have the bad to appreciate the good. That's okay. And that's a big part of wellness. Well, Michael, thank you so much for being a guest
Oh,
on the show. I really
this
appreciate
is great.
having you here for these
Thank
two
you.
episodes, and I hope to do some more work together here in the future. For those of you watching, thank you very much again for watching this episode of Mental Health Matters. If you want to visit us on Facebook, Mental Health Matters Facebook page, leave some likes, comments, any type of feedback you have, questions as well. You can visit the new website, www.mentalhealthmattersshow.com. If you have any questions, comments, or like to be a guest on the show, you may email me directly at dr.mgloviak@gmail.com. Thank you and stay well.